The thing you got to understand is when we started in 1978, there was no punk, hardly anything.
Being a punk rock kid back then was not the easiest thing or probably the best choice.
Some jackass pushes you into a locker at school and you're like, I'm so angry. Here's my song. It's called I'm So Angry. Fuck you, you jock, you.
It was palpable. You felt it. I mean, it was kind of scary.
It felt like a revolutionary alarm clock.
Culture was very unprepared to accept the punk rock.
Bouncers came out and just started pounding on them right away. Like, we didn't even get inside.
People were more into the Charlie Daniels band. They didn't have a clue what we were doing. They didn't know what punk rock. Punk rock to them was Devo.
If you weren't a jock, there was really nothing else to do.
Like you're on the cliff, and there it was, you know, and you weren't going back. And you're looking at that cliff, and punk rock just gave us the...
Right, that's kind of what we called it, because that was it. It was blah. There was nothing here. There was no future here.
This is Chris with the Door County Film Festival at the Tarleton Theater in Green Bay. We're about to watch Green Blah. You're not wearing the shirts. Green Blah is an amazing, amazing film. You guys are going to love it. It's our Friday night special on the 14th of February, Valentine's Day.
Right.
Great time to watch a movie about punk music. Not going to bore you with me. I want to talk to these guys. You guys are the co-directors of Green Blah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And where did this come from? What, give a background.
Well, Jim and I were both involved in the punk scene in Green Bay. We started going to see bands like in 1983. We started a band called A Bunch of Morons in 1983, and we played our first show with January of '84. So, you know, we've got this connection. We grew up like one block apart in Astor Park on the east side. And Jim kind of pitched the idea to me one day, like, hey, I want to do this documentary about Green Bay punk, and I thought it sounded like a great idea, and we just kind of went from there.
But how long ago was that? How long was that going from an idea to like, hey, let's make this movie?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was about 12 years ago when we really started on the project, but just like everything else, life runs into it. And Chris and I have full-time jobs. This is our first movie, our first full-length documentary, and you know, we kind of did it from scratch. We had there's a lot of learning curves. There was a lot of speed bumps to get over, but you know, we followed it through to fruition, and here we are with Green Blah.
And you had John Pata in the background there that helped out quite a bit, I'm sure. He's the one that I know. We've shown his movies at the festival.
Gotcha.
That was one of the connections that I had, knowing that this existed. And
yeah, we had wonderful editors.
Yeah.
So we started off with John Pata. John had other projects that kind of got in the way where he couldn't work with us, so he kind of stepped out of the way for a while. We got 3 guys in Milwaukee, Max, Cole, and Dan. They did fantastic. Same thing. One of them decided to take on a full-time gig outside of filmmaking, so he didn't really have the time, and we had to shift gears. So that was a part of why it took so long too, is we really tried to find the right editors that would fit us, and then we came across Eric Carter, and he lives a block and a half from my house, and he had worked on the Green Bay Packer movie, and he's done a lot of other advertising and a lot of interesting things in Green Bay. So Eric jumped aboard, and then towards the end, John jumped back aboard and kind of brought it to completion.
Yeah.
And that, folks, is how movies are made. You find the right people, and whoever can help when they can help, and if life goes different direction, you just find a way to make it happen.
And Chris and I both had, I don't mean to make this any longer than it has to, but Chris and I both had some tragic things happen to family members, some pretty tragic stuff. So that kind of shelved it for a little bit, but you know, it was important to us.
Yeah, the original the original first thought and sort of wanting to do this started like in 2008. We had a reunion show and we were going to film and do interviews, but it really took so much effort to get the bands and the show done that we filmed it, but we didn't do interviews. And then then we had a bunch of family stuff going on. And then at the very end of 2012, I was on the couch, I had a cold, I was watching TV, and I saw this ad for Arts Camera Plus down in Milwaukee. And our friend Jim Runge was going to be in town. I'm like, well, Jim's going to be here. I'm just going to go out and buy a camera and figure out the mic and the lighting, and that's so that was at the December of 2012. And then it really, we did most of the interviews in 2013 and 2014. So that's and then the editing took long because we kind of had to switch up people over the course of time.
Right.
Well, Chris, I think part of it too is we wanted to, document this whole scene. And Chris and I, like he said, we were a part of this from the very late 70s, early 80s on, and we wanted to capture all this before too many people got too old, too sick, and memories were lost or whatever. And we, it's really, the punk scene was about camaraderie and doing it yourself. So it was really important to us, and we wanted to archive this too. So instead of scanning 12 photos from Cuts Hall, we scanned hundreds. So that's just to give you an idea. We have thousands of pictures we scanned and flyers, and to us, we wanted to make this a big project and make it so that people forever can have this, and if they want to go get a photo of their band or maybe a fanzine they did. So.
Yeah.
And we could have done a shorter time frame and made it, I guess, more just on the hardcore scene or something. But when we started, we had a list of 25 people from Norb to interview, but it's just the way it works. It's okay, you talk to one person, he's like, oh, you should talk to this person, and then you should talk to that person, and it was a cumulative effect, snowball. So from that 25, we interviewed 90 people altogether.
Yeah.
And that was over the course of, we had interviews that we did even fairly recently, so, within the last year or so. So it's really in depth. We go back to the very beginning, and we kind of set the stage of what Green Bay is, and we start at the very beginning, and we go through pretty much the 80s, but then there's certain things that carry over into the early to mid 90s that we just sort of touch on. Some of the stories are a little bit more in depth, but Concert Cafe is just kind of that's where we sort of leave off.
Yeah, and that's how great movies are made, by the way. You came in with this idea, and you let it grow. You let the story tell you what the movie was going to be. That's what I love. I love that about filmmaking. I love that about documentaries. And just watching yours, I saw that when I was watching it back in November, and that's why I was like, can I please show this at my festival?
Oh, we're excited. We're excited to be part of Door County Film Fest.
Thank you.
Can't wait.
So that's about it. That's a good introduction to the folks. We'll put this up on YouTube and get people excited about coming out to see Green Blah at the Door County Film Festival. It's going to be on February 14th, Valentine's Day. So
Bring your partners.
Punk and Valentine's, not a better combo.